On November the 10th, we'll be asked to vote in a referendum on the rights of children. The wording, what will be put into the Constitution if it's passed and used as a reference point for laws in the future, was published yesterday. It sets out for the first time the rights of children as individuals in their own right and the responsibilities of the state in maintaining those rights. We'll be hearing the views of many this morning on that wording, which has been given a wide welcome across the political divide and among children's rights campaigners. But first, let's hear from someone concerned by the proposed change. Cathy Sinnott is a former MEP and disability rights campaigner, and she gave me her views earlier this morning.
My chief concern rests in the phrase which locks it into the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which is that the state decides the best interest of the child. And this is the problem, because in our present Constitution and in the kind of normal course of things in most societies, it was the parent that decided the best interest of the child, and the state only stepped in and took over that role when the parent failed.
In exceptional circumstances as defined by this wording.
Yeah, in this wording. Our Constitution is a Constitution in Irish, and the Irish, and I won't murder words by trying to say it in Irish, but the meaning is in uncommon, because it's common, normal if you like, for parents to love and care for their children. It's uncommon for parents not to. It's a low bar. If parents fail, the state then has to be the one that looks at the best interest of the child. But in normal situations, with most parents, the parents decide that. This wording and the other proposed wordings of the past all start from the premise that it is the state, not the parent, that looks at that determines the best interest.
Just to be clear, Cathy,
so it reverses the natural order.
Just to look at the word, now, irrespective of what other wordings were proposed, this is the wording, unless there are amendments made in the Dáil, that is going to go forward towards the people. The phrase in exceptional circumstances, in other words, the circumstances under which the state would take children into care above their parents, that's defined in the Constitution already. It's the same phrase that's going to be used again.
Yes, but it's used in connection with the concept and the phrase that the state is the one that decides the best interest of the child. So the exceptional, again, we have to go to the Irish, not the English for that word, which is a lower bar. So the state decides, in looking at any child in any situation, what it considers the best interest. And the state has the right to do that, by its definition of what's in the best interest. So the fact is that this is arbitrary. What we're putting in the Constitution as it exists, the normal order is supported. The parent is the parent. The parent decides the best interest of the child, and the state, where the parent fails, steps in.
Cathy Sinnott, what would you say to the argument about the necessity for this referendum, that if you look at reports in the past, like the Kilkenny incest case, the Kelly Fitzgerald case, the McColgan sexual abuse case, the Mona Gear case, the Roscommon incest case, all cases where parents didn't seem to take the best interests of the child into regard and the state had to intervene. That's the reason given as to why this referendum is necessary.
Okay, but that's a false reason, because the current wording of the Constitution would have protected all of those children and far more. The problem has not been the wording of the Constitution. 42.5 is very clear, and it's even clearer in Irish, where the uncommon situation happens, or you might say the exception, because the exception is the parent that doesn't care and protect their child. The rule is that parents do that. The state was obliged to step in, and did not. The reason for those cases is a neglectful state which ignored the Constitution. What you're doing in this is you're changing the Constitution and giving the neglectful state even more power. So I would expect far more problems for children under this current wording that makes the state the parent. in all situations.
Will you be campaigning against this referendum?
Well, I need to say first that there's a particular concern in this referendum and in this wording about children with special needs. That I don't think that this is the way forward. I think this is the way forward.
What is that particular concern?
Children and parents, but it is a particular concern for children with special needs.
In what way?
Okay, we have a dual legal system around children in this country. We have our Constitution, which I personally relied on for my son and for children with special needs in the Sinnott case, right? And it proved to be very robust and very protective of children with special needs, our current Constitution. The state relied on the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. It argued scarce resources, which come straight out of that treaty. It relied on state deciding what a child needs, not parents, physiotherapists, etc., experts. It relied on the state arbitrarily being able to decide. It also relied on the fact that the state decides, not myself, which was part of the case, as a parent, we made the case that I had a right to get the help I needed for my son with special needs, and other parents the same. And they appealed that in the Supreme Court. So they argued from the UN Convention. I argued from the Constitution. The Constitution protected children with special needs. The UN Convention, which is locked in, which is, completely confirmed by this amendment, would give the state control of what it wants to do for children with special needs in individual cases and also in budgets.
Okay. And because of those concerns, as you've outlined, will you be campaigning against this referendum?
I will certainly be doing what I can. I will certainly be informing people. I will be alerting them to problems, and particular problems, particularly in the area of special needs.
You will be campaigning against this referendum?
I will be particularly trying to alert parents of children with special needs about the particular issues in this concerning their children. I would particularly urge people to understand this is not a simple issue. I think it's going to be presented as, if you love children, vote yes. This is a very complex issue. This amendment gives a neglectful state even more control over children. They're already not doing their job of protecting children, and this gives them even more of that power to neglect.
And that was former MEP Cathy Sinnott.